So that's just Germany, and that's comparing it to the United States, where we have 4 times the population and roughly 4 times the unemployment rate. But let's move on to what was the next one? Denmark. What was it? Denmark, the unemployment rate is also much lower than the United States, and the population is only 6 million. 6 million. You're comparing a country of 320 million to a country of 6 million. Okay, and it's the same situation in Finland, Norway, and Sweden. I think with Norway and Sweden having upwards of around 10 million instead of 5. Other countries around the world, that are mentioned here that are implementing this type of policy are, for the moment, still much more white than the U.S., if you hadn't noticed. All the countries listed by Sanders as examples are currently, though poised to change in the future, they're currently over 80% Caucasoid.
If you do not listen to her, your event will be shut down right now. Right now. Your decision. Make a decision now.
Okay. So let's go back to what Bernie has to say. And he says, gotta give Bernie his time. And this is what he says. But it's not just other countries around the world that are doing the right thing. There was a time, not so many years ago, when we in the United States understood the importance of making college available to all qualified students, regardless of income. A generation ago, our nation's public colleges and universities were the pathways for all students, no matter their family background, to enter the middle class. For example, the University of California system, considered by many to be the crown jewel of public higher education in this country, did not begin charging tuition until the 1980s. In 1965, average tuition at a 4-year public university was just $243, and many of the best colleges, such as the City University of New York, did not charge any tuition. And this investment in higher education worked. The United States once led in the world of young Americans with college degrees. Sadly, today we are in the 12th place. It is time for a fundamental change in how we approach the financing of higher education, and the legislation I will introduce today will do just that. The College for All Act will provide free tuition at public college and universities in this country. This means that any student, regardless of his or her background or income, who has the ability and desire, will be able to get the education they need and the education they deserve. This legislation opens the door for a middle-class life to millions of young Americans, while making our economy stronger and more productive. He's talking about American past. Okay. He says a generation ago, so I'll use that. A generation ago, our nation's working and middle-class businessmen were able to provide such economic growth that the overall economy for young adults, the overall economy allowed for young adults to enter a school of higher education while paying for it, while flipping burgers, working cashiers, or doing many of the poor excuses that are being passed as employment nowadays. So I ask you, what has changed? What's changed? Well, I'll tell you what's changed. The U.S. population's changed. Since 1980 to today, that's 36 years, we've seen a population growth of 100 million. We've seen our population go from 226 million to 326 million. And this correlates with a changed immigration policy, where we quit focusing on European countries and we started focusing on impoverished third world countries. See, I would argue that desegregation, immigration reform, and Ponzi Marxist-style central banking led to the disparate economic conditions that we're in today. Let's talk about white flight and look at like some examples such as Detroit and Chicago. Both are cities that have consistently voted for the Democratic Party, that's Bernie's party, over the last 60 years, while driving out the white populations and businesses. This is fact. It's true. I don't want to hear, oh, you're a racist. It's time we sucked in our guts, puffed out our chests, and took a look at the raw facts. The reality is, in these cases at least, that as more people of color came into these areas, crime went up, drug abuse went up, the Democrats seized power, and social programs were created to prevent crimes and sexual diseases and abuses. These social programs, they included educational funding, drug awareness, sexual awareness courses, as well as increased police funding, more stringent laws to prevent crime, and restrict your individual rights.